nutritionist Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow with another edition of Healthy Living for Expansions.com. Today we are going to make spinach noodles, or spinach pasta I should say. Now I have done all of this by hand, so if you don't have a food processor or you don't have an electric KitchenAid to do your noodles or pasta electrically, that's okay. I will tell you as we move along how you can do it by hand. It's a lot more work, but it can be done, and I've done it. So anyway, where there's a will, there's a way. But for now, we're going to start with the food processor. So this is the food processor just waiting for our spinach pasta, and this is the blade we're going to put in here to use. Okay, and here I have 10 ounces of chopped spinach that I purchased frozen. I've unthawed it. And you can also make it fresh if you want, and I've done it both ways, but this is the easiest. So it's been unthawed, you can see it's very wet. If you put it in too wet, what's going to happen is you're going to need too much flour. If you use too much flour, then your pasta is going to be very tough. So I'm just going to wring it out here, and we're going to make it as dry as we can. And you want about 1 cup of spinach when you're done. But again, I started with a 10-ounce package of organic chopped frozen spinach. Now sometimes in my area I can't find it chopped. You can still get it whole, and you can chop it up once it gets into your food processor. So I'm just going to squeeze it out, and we're going to make it as dry as we possibly can. And you can see all the liquid that's in here. Now you can save this and add it to vegetable dishes and other things, soups, lots of things, because there's nutrition, of course, in the water. But like I said, the drier, the less flour it's going to take. And you want to have nice, tender noodles. You don't want them to be tough. And you might say, what's a tough noodle? Well, I'll tell you, if you make them, you will know. So, and as I said, I'm the quote-unquote expert. And an expert is a person who's made all the mistakes. And I have made many mistakes through the years, so to speak. So I try not to be too harsh on myself. I'm going to get one last squeeze before I put it into my food processor. Okay, get out anything that I can. So as I said, the drier the better. And the thing I like about adding spinach to your pasta is not only does it look pretty and give it a little bit more nutrition, but then you use a little bit less flour. I'm not really big on carbs, as you know, so I try to do things that are a little more low carb. So this does give it not only a good flavor, but a little bit lower carb. And you can make your pasta go a little bit farther. You do need, in my opinion, although I know there are gluten-free pastas out there, and I have never made them. I usually use organic, unbleached white wheat flour for my pasta making, because you do need the gluten to make your pasta stretchy. Okay, so there's that. Let me dry my hands here for a second. And into that I'm going to put 2 eggs. And I'm just going to chop that up for a couple minutes. Okay, so after you let it run for a couple minutes, you can see what it looks like inside. Then I have here in this bowl 3 cups of my organic wheat flour, unbleached. You add it a cup at a time. So I'm just going to put a cup in, and then we're going to blend it up again. Goes pretty fast. You can see another cup. Now I have a total of 3.5 cups. I'm hoping I can get it done with 3 cups, but we'll see. So here's your second cup. from the sides here. You can see a dough ball is starting to form. And let's put in my third cup. I'll run it one more time, and I'm hoping that will be good. Okay, let's check it and see how it's doing. It's a little bit stickier than what I'd like it, so I'm going to add just a couple tablespoons of flour. We don't want to put, again, like I was telling you, too much flour in there. So I just want it to be a little less sticky. Let's see what happens. Better when we do a couple more tablespoons. Now, one thing you're going to find if you work with dough of any kind, sometimes even depending on the weather, the humidity, of course your altitude, all those things make a difference in how your dough is going to be. Now, originally I had measured out 3 cups in here, so it might take all of this. And then, of course, I have the additional half a cup if we need it. So let's see what happens here. Looking much better. Now notice it's not as sticky when I touch it before, when I first was touching it, how it was coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of these. That'll make a total for me of 3 cups. You can see how it's all starting to form into a nice ball, and that's what we want it to do before we take it out of the food processor. It will make it much easier for you to handle once you have it out of there. Okay, and that feels nice now. So, unplug this, take this out, and put it over here on my cutting board. Now it's warm, it's still a little stickier, and I'm going to add some of my other flour in. Make sure I get all of this out from inside. And then once it comes out on your board, I have just a little plastic one here that I use. I'm going to knead it just a little bit. That helps to stretch the gluten fibers. And it also helps it to relax a little bit. Until your dough gets into a really nice, smooth consistency. As I said, it will make it easier to work with when we start doing the noodles themselves. So I'm going to take just a little bit. It's still just a little bit stickier. But as I said, just don't dump it all in there. Do a tablespoon at a time if you need to, because otherwise your dough will become tough, and then your noodles will still be tasty, but just not as good as what you like it there. So you can see how it's starting to smooth out. When you knead your dough, all you do is you just kind of take it back and forth, and you want to get it to a nice smooth consistency so that it's not sticky. And so now it's not. No matter what I do to it, it's in pretty good shape. So, as I said, about 3 cups of flour. You might want to keep that half a cup in reserve. And of course, I'm not doing it by weight. And if you do it by weight, that makes it a little bit more accurate. But Alright, so now this needs to rest. So all I'm going to do is I've just got this little towel. I'm going to let it rest for about 30 minutes and then we're going to come back, cut it, and start doing our noodles, or pasta. Okay, so let's take a look at the dough. It's rested for, I let it go for about an hour. Feels good, so we're going to cut it with a knife into 4 sections. You can see how nice it looks inside. Now the dough will have a tendency to dry, so while I'm working with 1/4 of it, I'm going to just keep the rest of it covered. Let's see, let me take a little bit smaller piece here, cover this back. Now this is my KitchenAid, and as I told you, I have done this before by hand, and I also have had a hand roller, but I wore that out and it broke, so I decided, because the difference in cost wasn't so much, that I would go ahead and purchase one of these. Now I can't remember what I paid, but I think it was around $140 for this. It also, makes it flat, but you also have an attachment to cut it into noodles. And the hand roller I think was around $100. So for the difference in price, I went for this. My KitchenAid is actually, I don't even know how old it was. It was a gift, and it was a refurbished, reconditioned KitchenAid when I was given it several years ago. So it served me well for the little bit of time I need it for. So what I've done while I was talking here, if you'll notice, I took the 1/4 of the dough and I kind of pressed it out flat. And on my, I don't even know what you call it, my pasta attachment, I guess, there are little numbers over here. And we're going to set it to the whitest setting, which is a number 1. You can also go to number 2, but I like to start with number 1. And what this does when we put it through is it starts kneading the dough. So when it comes out, it's going to kind of, because of the spinach especially, it's going to start breaking apart, you'll see. But as we keep going with it, it will smooth itself out. So I'm going to turn this on. It's a little bit loud, but here we go. It will fall apart and the less sticky it becomes. kind of a lengthy process, as you can see, but I wanted you to see the difference and what you started with and how it turns and the different stages, because when I first did this, I didn't have anyone to show me, and even the videos online, of course, they want it to go fast, so they don't show you a lot. So it takes a few minutes to run it through, but this is kneading it. It stretches everything out, it mixes everything together, you can see. And remember, we're on the widest setting, number 1. So I'm going to run it through a couple more times, and then we're going to start making the pasta thinner by moving this knob on the side. So a couple more times through here, and then it'll be where I want it to be. It'll feel nice and smooth, it feels satiny, it's a very nice dough. This in half because this is going to get continually thinner, and I'm going to move this to a number from a 1 to a 3. Let's see what happens. See how long this is getting. Remember, we start off with a piece this short. So I'm going to cut this one in half again. And I'm going to move this now to a number 4. Now I'm doing lasagna, so I'm going to stop at 4 or 5. I'll see how thin it gets, what I like, but here we go. And you can see it's getting longer every time. So I'm going to try one more, number 5, and then I'll probably stop there. So, remember, we started with a piece this short, then I cut it in half, and it was this size, and now we've got it longer. Now I'm going to bake mine later, so I'm going to come over here. I have on my cookie sheet I have it lightly floured with some wax paper. I'm going to dry mine a little bit, but I'm going to cook it within a day or 2. So I'm just going to cut this to fit my cookie sheet. Now I can understand why you need a drying rack after working with these noodles like I have. And of course, if you wanted to turn into a fettuccine or spaghetti or something else, this would be the point where you would either make it a little thinner if you wanted, and then you would be sure to dry it out nicely. So anyway, I'm going to finish this up. I know you don't want to sit here and watch everything, but I wanted to give you an idea how easy it is to make your own pasta. I will show you how to make a lasagna, and I will show you how to make a spinach lasagna, but at another time, because this is enough. But my main point is have fun, be creative, don't be afraid to try new things. And if you think about when we started with our one little ball here of spaghetti or pasta, fresh dough, and you can see how it transforms. And I didn't want you to be afraid when you see it coming out of the roller and it starts breaking all apart and you wonder, what did I do? So that's why I let it go for such a long time for you. But it's very, very easy to do. And when you cook this, which I will show you a future time, but if you want to do it while it's fresh, which is really the best way, you boil a nice big pot of water, put in a teaspoon or two of good sea salt, because that will salt your pasta as it's cooking, and then you'll use it from there how you want to with whatever sauces you want to put on it. So with that said, I want to thank you for joining me, Janet Diane Moria Swerdlow, for another edition of Healthy Living Expansions.com. Bye-bye now.